Well, a season and a half on the engine, it's time to tear it down. And we're going to get to see what a Coyote engine looks like after 100 plus quarter mile passes at over 1,000 rear wheel horsepower. I'm kind of excited.
And 2 failed intercooler pumps.
And then grab up here. 1, 2. I think we put every possible pulley combination on your VMP Gen 3.
Go slower.
I mean, the rotors look really good.
Yeah. I think I saw that and I was like, what was that?
They've definitely seen 27,000 RPM, but there's nothing to complain about in there. These are on here good.
I know. Wait, I'm sorry.
There it goes. They're all releasing. And like, part of it is, you don't want to pull on it too hard and have like all the bolts go flying and everything else. Everything looks pretty darn good in here. Camshafts, good. Chains, tensioners. Eight seconds with TI VCT. This is a billet crank gear, but that just goes to show how much stress this part is under. I mean, you can even see little indentations where the chain made the teeth shiny.
Damn.
Yeah. A little bit of debris or oil starvation or something. And look over here. Right behind the pig. Damn. Let's see what that bottom side of that journal looks like.
There's a hole in it.
Yeah. That's almost like, I wonder if there was debris in the new cylinder head from Ford, and I wonder if it pushed. It even wore, look at it, it was digging into the aluminum. These followers are unique to the GT350 cylinder head. They're actually a different rocker ratio than a regular Coyote rocker. I think a Coyote is 2-to-1 and these are like 1.9-to-1. These are GT350 cylinder heads. I don't really think they made any more power. We're going with 2015 ported cylinder heads on the next engine, and the flow numbers from the flow bench show a way better CFM on the intake and exhaust port.
In a toolbox full of sockets, does Donnie have a 12.16 millimeter?
Oh, this is nice. They don't pop like head bolts. I mean, they just kind of smoothly break loose. This is where you kind of see everything. And anytime you see black, the gasket material is also black. This is where the gasket just had a hard time, holding and had a hard time sealing. I mean, between the cylinders is actually pretty clean.
Mm-hmm. Same on this side. There's between the first two, there's a little.
This block is sleeved, and the sleeve has a flange at the top.
And that's how pretty much everybody does Coyote blocks when they sleeve them. And that flange gives you a steel surface and gives you a little more head gasket sealing around the cylinder. All in all, the cylinder heads look really good. I mean, there's no burn marks, there's no melting. We know this motor had a pretty good life. It never ran extremely lean. We never burned tips off the spark plugs. Other than that cam journal on the one cylinder head, the heads look really good. These cylinder heads, depending on the status of that cam journal, could potentially live a good life in another car.
Yeah.
But we're planning to go a different direction with the next engine. Now I think the fun starts. We get to tear down the short block, see what the pistons look like.
Yeah, so you could have pieces of bearings, like just pieces of anything metal. Like, you shouldn't have free metal in your engine.
Stay back. You're gonna have to get closer. I'm gonna go towards the center more. You're gonna have to get closer still.
Outside.
I mean, there's a little bit of like excess RTV, but
Yeah.
nothing that would really majorly affect oil flow or oil pressure. So when we put the motor together, we checked the clearance to the bottom of the oil pan with clay. With the stamped sheet metal oil pans, you can't really tell if they're crushed or not, and like your car had been jacked up, moved around. I mean, it'd done wheelies.
That's right.
You know, who knew? And it's not worth losing a brand new motor over that.
Right.
And like, all this stuff is really dirty and nasty right now. When we go to put this engine back together, we have to clean out everything. I mean, we've taken this engine apart before and been like, yeah, we probably could reuse the bearings, but we really shouldn't. They're all kind of machined as one piece to be round, and if you start swapping them between parts, there's a good chance you'll have a set that's shorter and a set that's taller.
And
And
end up with an oval.
yeah, and like the Coyote we tore apart last weekend, you could get a spun rod bearing or something if you don't have good concentricity right here. I mean, these parts spin really fast and everything's got to be round. The other thing I'm looking at here is play in the pin. If the pins had too much play, that would be a bad thing. You can actually get bending of the piston skirts in some cases, but we're not necessarily at a power level to have to worry about that. The rings have still got good tension. There's no cracking or real damage to the ring. And this is what holds the combustion gas inside the cylinder. Like, this is incredibly important because if this fails, even just a little bit, the flame front will blow past the side of the piston, and any leakage is an opportunity for that flame front to burn not only the piston but the sleeve too. And then you've even got the secondary ring looks good, and the oil control ring looks good too. So on a supercharged car, this is a really important part of the engine, the crank snout, and you could potentially have cracking or failure. I mean, everything looks pretty good. You can tell the balancer's been on and off a few times, but not really anything to complain about here.
Come on, stop being this way.
Woo! This looks brand new. Well, you're fighting with that. I'm looking at the brand new bearings. the front main bearing looks brand new.
Oh my god, yeah.
We try to set the car up not to do wheelies, and Rebecca brings up like an excellent reason why wheelies are bad. If you go too high, too long, you don't know if your oil is going to get sucked back into the engine. Your pickup can get starved. That's like the technical term I'm looking for here. We got 2 more main caps to get out, which I feel like are going to be kind of a fight.
I know.
Well, there's the rear main cap and the thrust bearing. You know, people talk about turbo 400s wiping out thrust bearings, especially on mod motors, and we have always like been really worried about that and tried to be really careful. And
We also try to buy thrust bearings.
yeah, and I don't see a problem with this motor. It doesn't have excessive crank in play. When we put it together, we checked it. It had 4 thou of crank in play, and I feel like it still does. The thrust bearing's doing
That's what I was thinking.
what it's supposed to be doing and properly locating the crank front to back. Well, that's kind of weird. When I pulled the main cap out, the bearing, it wasn't stuck inside the main cap like all the rest of them. That looks like metal transfer on the crank. It looks like this bearing started to get hot and was kind of just warped ever so slightly so it didn't fit tightly in the cap anymore. Looks like a little bit of metal transfer over here. We will definitely have to check out the specs on this journal, check the clearances and measure the journal to make sure that there's no underlying problem causing this. You know, this block has been sleeved, which removes a lot of material from the block. A new steel sleeve has been pressed in that is thicker and harder, and then 1,000 plus horsepower has been put through it. So this aluminum block only weighs like 90 to 100 pounds. You know, twisting, different forces and stuff could put some stresses on the mains that may cause, you know, some problems like this. So it's definitely something we're going to have to look into before we go to put this engine back together. I'm excited to get this thing to the machine shop, have them check it out, deck the head surface, and hone the bores, and then we'll put it back together.
Join us next time when you can watch us reassemble the engine.
Like, share, and subscribe to see more videos like this one from VMP Performance and Rebecca Starkey Racing.